Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Jason Cappuccino of Sashes&Scripts, where you get relevant news and updates as well as fearless views on issues related to pageantry. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button as well as the notifications bell to get updated on our latest videos. For today's video, we will be tackling a very sensitive subject, and it is a subject na I don't think I can veer away from or not tackle head on. Hindi kaila na among the pageant bloggers out there, isa kami sa medyo, or rather, isa kami sa more outspoken and opinionated na mga kritiko when it comes to pageant issues and pageant topics. And it sometimes gets into a territory where we get into trouble, not only with the pageant fans or the pageant girls, sometimes even with the pageant org. And hindi namin maialis na hindi maging vocal about issues on the pageant industry because we've been in the industry for quite so long na tipong we think that there are issues na kinakailangan being one who have a voice and a platform, kinakailangan namin pagtuunan ng spotlight o bigyan ng pansin ang mga issues na ito. And it so happened that one of the things that naging hallmark na ng aming mga past na mga blogs and mga videos is how we are very critical of pageant organizations as a whole. The thing about that, it's become a issue on some pageant fans na tinatanong kami ngayon kung ano ba ang ambag namin. And that kind of question kind of rubbed us the wrong way because there are a lot of things na hindi nalalaman ng mga pageant fans, especially ng mga bagitong pageant fans na ilang taon lang na umantabay sa mundo ng pageantry that they don't know of. And I wanted this video to clarify stuff on the question, ano nga ba ang ambag namin? First and foremost, pageant bloggers and admins like us, ang isa sa pinakaunang ibinibigay naming serbisyo sa mga tao is providing pageant news and updates. And included in that sphere is pageant coverages. Now, I can only speak for myself, but from the years 2013 up to 2019, we spend money, we spend resources, we spend time when we do coverages. Not only here in the Philippines, but when we cover pageants abroad. Now, our first international coverage was the Miss World pageant in Bali, and we know kung ano yung mga kontrobersiya na nangyari with that pageant. Originally, it was slated to be held in Jakarta, where I live. But protests happened and they decided to keep the competition in Bali. For me, na may ticket for the finals and for the top model competition for the pageant, I need now to rebook my ticket, or rather repurpose my ticket for the finals. And that means that I need to book a ticket, airfare, hotel for the finals in NUSA Dua in Bali. The thing about that location is that the convention center where the Miss World Finals is located is a very expensive na area. NUSA Dua is actually one of the more affluent places. It is one of the more expensive na locations in Bali. And Bali in itself is already very expensive. So imagine that na kinakailangan kong mag-book ng airplane tickets, ng hotel tickets para sa finals in Bali. So that's an additional na expense on my part covering for the pageant. Now, let's also talk about coverages outside of my then location. That because in the past I lived in Jakarta for almost 7 years, and in those years, kadalasan ng mga pageants na kino-cover ko are either Miss World or Miss Universe. And Miss Universe is usually held either in the Philippines or in the US or in Thailand. And whenever I cover, pageants in the US, malaki ang kinakailangan kong itabi na budget for coverage. And mind you, ang mga expenses na to ay sarili ko. Hindi ako humihingi ng kahit na ano ni Singkong Duling sa SASH Factor or any other pageant orgs out there. Everything that I spent for coverages for SASH Factor for the Miss Universe pageant from 2014 to 2018, lahat yon kargado ko. It comes from my pocket money and walang ibang nagbibigay sa akin ng pondo. Hindi rin ako binabayaran ng Miss Universe organization or ng Binibining Pilipinas to cover pageants to cover the Miss Universe pageant abroad. So, klaro tayo doon. Kung ano mang ini-invest ko on coverages, it's all mine. Now, let's talk about expenses. Because there are no flights, direct flights from Jakarta to the US, I have two options. Either I take a flight from Jakarta to Singapore or Hong Kong or Manila, and then have a connecting flight from either of those airports to LAX in California, or maybe even in San Francisco. And from there, I would have to take a domestic flight from California to either Miami, Florida, or Las Vegas. That in itself, malaki na siyang expense because Jakarta to Manila would cost around $175 to around $200 depending on the peak dates. Nataon, kadalasan, ang Miss Universe pageant nangyayari Disyembre. So kapag Disyembre, asahan mong mataas ang mga airfare tickets noon. And then let's talk about the Manila to LA na flight. A non-stop flight would be around $520 to $600 US. And then LAX to Makaran is around $70. Roughly, I spent around $150 to $200 from my flight from San Francisco to Miami. So, dun pa lang, one way pa lang yun. Hindi pa yun balikan. So, you have to understand na at that point, I'm already racking as much, expenses and hindi pa ako nakakarating din sa venue. And then pagdating mo sa venue, you also have to check in on your hotel and, pay for accommodations. And accommodations at the Planet Hollywood Hotel where kadalasan nandun ang mga girls kung saan sila nag-i-stay, saan sila nag-shoot ng mga videos nila for the pageant, it would roughly be around $110 per night or $116 to $120 per night. Now, pasalamat na lang ako na si Nailari ng SASH Factor would pay for our accommodations. So, imagine paying $110 a night, roughly around $700, almost $1,000 US for around 7, 8 or even sometimes 9 days na coverage ng pageant. Malaking pera ang involved dyan. And that's not including the taxes that you need to pay. Of course, kapag nag-cover ka ng pageant, yung pamasahe mo from airport to the hotel, babayaran mo din yun. If it so happened that the event of the pageant happens outside of the hotel, maybe in Caesar's Palace or Bellagio or somewhere in the outskirts of Las Vegas, sarili mo ring gastos yon. If it so happens na malapit lang siya, like Caesar's Palace, na you can actually walk maybe around 5 minutes from Planet Hollywood, then swerte ka. Kapag hindi, well, kinakailangan mong mag-Uber, kinakailangan mong mag-taxi, or you have to pay a rental. And let's not talk about, mga fees na kinakailangan mong bayaran for tickets. If you want to watch, mga rehearsals, may mga rehearsals like the dress rehearsals that would cost around $20 per head. So imaginein mo yon na lahat ng yon nanggagaling sa sarili naming pockets. And mga tickets would roughly be around $36 for the cheapest. Dito na yung pinakamalayo na mga makukuha mong tickets from the stage to $150 and to the more exorbitant na sa $2,000 plus na mga VIP tickets. And during that time when I covered the the Miss Universe pageant, gusto namin na medyo maganda naman yung lugar na kinaupuan namin so that if we take and when we take photos, maganda yung kinakalabasan. So we roughly spend around $200 to $350 for good seats. So imagine that. Pageant coverages alone, napakalaki na ng nagagastos namin. And for some pageant fans to ask us kung ano ang ambag namin, well, ito yon. We pay all our coverages by our own pockets, from our own pockets. And lahat ng mga ito, we do that so that we get, the most juicy updates, pinaka-latest na updates, nakikita namin kung ano yung mga behind the scenes na nangyayari. We get a lot of behind the scenes na shenanigans na hindi nyo nakikita at nagre-report namin sa inyo yon. The mere fact that in 2017, nabigyan namin kayo in SASH Factor ng mga breakdown kung ano ang mangyayari for the finals, kung ano yung mga kinakailangan mo i-expect for the finals. Those are things na hindi kayang ibigay ng kahit na sinong pageant admin sa inyo. Those are things that not a lot of pageant admins can, just give it to you for free and nang walang cost. Lahat ng mga costs are being borne by us na nandoon on site na nag-oobserba sa mga galaw ng mga candidates na nakikita namin, naririnig namin mula sa mga national directors kung sino yung mga pasaway, kung sino yung mga may attitude, kung sino yung mabait, sino yung talagang maganda at saka sino yung budol lang sa pagdating sa mga glam na mga pictorials. So those are things that we give without asking anything in return. Now, second, another thing that a lot of pageant fans don't understand about our job or our what we do for the pageant industry is that back when uso ang mga forums, uso ang Voy forums, ang Missosology na forums, ang SASH Factor na forums, ang mga forums na ito ang nagiging de facto na source ng information ng anything na related on pageants. And me, what I did with SASH Factor is that I managed not only the forum but the Facebook page of the site as well. So imagine having my job and then managing, having a blog, having to manage the forum and updating it on Facebook. And notorious na nagiging problema natin sa sistemang ito was that may mga pageant camps na nagiging abusado when it comes to asking for articles, asking for publicity for their alaga. And nangyayari kasi dito is hindi nyo nakikita yon because all you see is the output. Kaya kami, we have a lot of insider na mga information sa mga nangyayari behind the local pageants because kami ang madalas na kinakalabit ng mga pageant camps na ito. And what we do is, kapag nangalabit si pageant camp na hindi namin masyado nagustuhan yung article, pakitanggal. Or may nag-post sa forum na hindi maganda sa image ng kanilang mga alaga, tinatanggal namin yon dahil nagre-request sila. And kung minsan naaabuso yung sistemang ito ng mga pageant camps because they're the ones who have all the power because nasa kanila yung access sa mga pageant girls kung gusto namin silang interviewin or bigyan ng feature sa aming page. And that system is madalas sa hindi, nagiging one-sided in favor of the camps. And that is also why we were able to, foster relationships with people from within different pageant camps, with different designers, with different stylists, with different makeup artists, with different handlers, at nakikita namin kung ano yung galawan sa loob dahil sila mismo ang nagsasabi-sabi sa amin. And kapag may mga insider fighting within camps, sa amin sila nagsusumbong. And lahat ng mga sinusumbong nila sa amin, we tried as much as possible to contain it within the privacy of our conversation para hindi ito kumalat sa labas at makapekto sa mga girls. And that's one of the things na hindi nakikita ng mga pageant fans, that behind the scenes maraming kagaguhang nangyayari na itinatago namin in private. And marami din mga candidates na may hindi magandang asal na hindi namin hinahayaan na makalabas in public. So all of those things, those are things na hindi mo maaasahan sa mga ibang mga admins, na sometimes ang scope kinakailangan ilabas. And those are the things that within our circle, especially within the SASH Factor family, we contain. And that's why ang SASH Factor noon may relationship sa magkakaibang camps na inexistent at that time. So, those are the things na madalas hindi naiintindihan ng mga pageant fans, na hindi nila nakikita at hindi nila na-appreciate sa mga pageant admins. And one of the things that I think is very detrimental to this kind of relationship is that hindi mo ngayon pwedeng kantiin ang mga camps kahit na may mga ginagawa na silang hindi maganda. And those are things that have been kept hidden for a long time, for several years na naging admin ako ng SASH Factor. And lahat ng mga yon, I have a lot of stories na hindi ko nilalabas. And ang mga stories na ito naiiwan lang sa amin. If you think that there are kwentos na hindi maganda, well, how much more if you know what we know? So that's one of the things na gusto ko sanang maintindihan ng mga bagitong pageant fans. Now, let's also now talk about something else na I think pertinent dito sa usapan na ito. When a pageant treats fans as paid customers, customer satisfaction must be now a top priority. And having a paid voting system, whether it's Miss Universe or any other national pageants, nagbabago ang dynamics ng relationship ng pageant fan at ng pageant org. Because ang nangyayari ngayon dito is that the pageant organization now puts the relationship between a seller and a customer. Nangyayari dito is that the dynamics of a pageant fan and a pageant org is fundamentally changed, because now the pageant org has become a provider of products and services. And as paying customers, customer satisfaction must be put above everything else, because syempre, nagbebenta ka ng ticket, nagbebenta ka ng votes, nagbebenta ka ng merchandise, nagbebenta ka ng kung alin. Ngayon, ang responsibilidad mo sa mga consumers mo, and even potential consumers, is that they have to have consumer satisfaction. Ganon kasimple. Any seller sa Lazada, sa Shopee, any seller online knows this relationship, that customer comes first. That the customer, although not necessarily always right, their customer satisfaction needs to be, a top priority. And kapag when the relationship has become a retail relationship, meaning there is someone who sells services or products and someone who buys those services and products, nagbabago ngayon ang dynamics. And so, bilang potential customer, bilang potential consumer, may karapatan ngayon ang mga pageant fans na busisiin kung ano ang mga binibili nilang products and services. So kung magbenta ka, for example, ng paid viewing for, let's say, a finals or an episode or a series of episodes regarding the pageant journey of the girls, then it is up to you to deliver in a satisfactory manner kung ano man yung ipirinamis mo. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, ay, naglag ang system, down ang system, kaya hindi namin may upload yung episode. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Dahil nangako ka, may relationship ka sa customer mo na you provide them with the necessary services and products on time and in full when you promise them to. So hindi pwedeng, magdahilan ka na na delayed kasi kaya hindi namin maibigay sa inyo. So hindi pwedeng ganon because you are now being held up to your promise because you have a social contract with your consumers na they are paying you for these services and for these products, so you have to deliver. And hindi nila kasalanan kung hindi mo naisip na magka-crash ang website mo, hindi nila kasalanan kung hindi na-tape ng maayos yung episode or hindi na-edit ng maayos yung episode. You have to deliver at the end of the day. Ganun kasimple. Because ang relationship mo ngayon is to make sure that they get what they paid for. Another thing is that if you are going to post a merchandise at sasabihin mong it's 100% cotton na merchandise, tapos pag tinignan nila polyester yung ipinangako yung merchandise when they've bought it, then pwede ka nilang balikan na ang tsaka nitong ibinigay mo sa akin na merchandise. Sinabi mo dito 100% cotton, but when we look at it, it's actually cheap value cotton, which is 60% cotton and 40% polyester. So you need to be able to be honest, to be upfront to your consumers, because that's a social contract that you entered with them the moment that bumili sila ng mga services mo, the moment na bumili sila ng products mo. And yun ngayon ang nangyayari na hindi naiintindihan ng mga bagitong pageant fans. Because they are not sophisticated enough to understand the relationship between a buyer and a seller. You have to dig deep and understand kung ano ba yung relationship na ito. Hindi na ito simpleng pageant or pageant fan na relationship. The moment na pinasukan mo ito ng pera, it is now up to you na seller to deliver what you promised. And if you promise them good services and good products, then you are held into that social contract, into that promise. So ngayon, you are basically opening up yourself to vulnerabilities na pwede ka ngayong i-critique, na pwede ka ngayong sabihan na hindi maganda ang merchandise mo, na hindi maganda ang produkto mo, na hindi maganda ang serbisyo mo, because you are now essentially at the mercy of your consumer. So yun ang dapat nyong maintindihan when you're talking about this relationship. So yun sana yung maintindihan ng mga pageant fans about this question. Kung magtatanong kayo sa aming mga pageant vloggers kung ano ang ambag namin, eto yon. Inexplica ko sa inyo kung ano yung mga ambag namin. So ito yon. Ito yon mga things that you don't necessarily see, but you take for granted because it's free for you. The moment na pinasukan namin ito na ngayon magbayad kayo dito sa mga impormasyon na ibinibigay namin sa inyo, then that's when you can hold us accountable to the same level of relationship as that of a buyer and a seller. And that is why we don't sell our services. That is why karamihan sa aming mga bloggers, we ask for donation, we ask for tips, we ask for support that is given freely. And yon is one of the things na hindi mo pwedeng ikumpara sa relationship when you are a buyer and you have a relationship with whoever sells you products and services. So if I am going to wrap this all up into one statement, sana bago kayo magtanong sa amin kung ano yung ambag namin, maintindihan nyo din kung ano yung hirap na pinanggagalingan namin, ano yung effort, ano yung time and resources that we spend so that we give you, something that is free. And there is a lot of things that pageant fans take for granted from, bloggers and pageant admins. And I hope that because what we provide for you is free, ma-appreciate nyo naman kung ano yung mga impormasyon, ano yung mga kuro-kuro namin on certain issues, ma-appreciate nyo naman yung mga insider information, yung mga things na hindi nyo nakukuha from general media. And sana naman the next time na magtanong kayo on ano ang ambag namin, maintindihan nyo na itong mga ibinibigay namin sa inyo, these are information, these are content that you won't get anywhere else, na hindi siya freely given sa ibang mga media outlets. So I hope na medyo naliwanagan tayong lahat about this, about this issue because itong issue na ito parang kasing minamaliit yung yung ambag, yung contribution ng mga pageant pages and mga pageant admins in the in the sphere of the pageant industry. I hope to see you in my next video again soon, and please do subscribe if hindi pa kayo nagsusubscribe sa aking channel, and take care. God bless and see you in our next video. Bye everyone.